to E-Litt Ninjas. Today I'm going to talk about 1984. Not the year, the book. 1984 is a dystopian novel written by George Orwell. It was published on 8 June 1949 and it's the final book written by George Orwell. This is a personal favorite of mine because its relevance is, well, now it's really clear. And I think the more we move forward with all this surveillance and social media, I think the relevance of being closely monitored by our government or any third-party agency that governments puts its trust into, it's very relevant and it's something serious that we need to keep in mind. Winston Smith is a low-ranking member in the ruling party in London in the nation Oceania. And everywhere Winston goes, or where every member goes, you can see that there's someone who's always watching. And this is the omniscient leader, the Big Brother. So, reference, well, even at home, even when you're eating, you're being watched because the party needs to know whatever you're doing every second of the day. But Winston is aware of what's happening, being constantly watched, monitored. So, he is a self-aware person. The party controls everything by controlling the news and the language itself. Well, any reference to what's happening in India? Think for yourself. So they remove words that they think is dangerous because we need words to think. And what if we remove words like freedom, liberation, feminism? Well, how do you think of these concepts? That would be, difficult. So what they're doing is, the party is doing is removing words that they think is dangerous and completely manipulating news. So something like in North Korea, remember before President Trump visited or met Kim Jong-un, the posters that people could see there was how the capitalism in America is bad, how they kill soldiers, North Korean soldiers, and suddenly you could see that the posters were completely different, creating a completely different narrative that North Korea was in love with the United States for all these years. So likewise, based on what the party wants, then they change the complete narrative. They destroy books and people don't even know that these books existed in some time because they don't let any proof of it exist. Winston buys an illegal diary because party should know whatever you're doing. Even if it's just a notepad, party should know. So he buys an illegal diary and writes his thoughts in it. And Winston notices that a guy named O'Brien looks like someone who is fighting against the party. There is a movement against the party, the whole surveillance mode and everything. And this group is the Brotherhood. So Winston thinks that O'Brien belongs to this group. Now, what I told you about the language is relevant here because newspeak is the language that they invent, or whatever they want people to think about or speak about or write about, that's only there in the language newspeak. So how does Winston gets access to these? Well, to quote a specific example, party gives the narrative that Oceania has always been allied with East Asia in a war against Eurasia. But Winston remembers that this is not true. So he has personal experiences that prompts him to ask questions and think outside the box. or think outside what he is supposed to. So that's why he's the hero. The party also claims that Emmanuel Goldstein, the leader of the Brotherhood, is the most dangerous man alive. But Winston also knows that this is not true. Now when he gets free time, he wanders among the proletarians or the area where the party doesn't monitor. So he has an awakening of his own. So in between there's a dark-haired girl who constantly seems to notice Winston, and Winston fears that she is a party spy. But one day he receives a note from Julia that she loves him, and they began a secret affair because the party can't know about it, and they always look out for signs of party washing, but they continue their affair. But Winston knows that this is doomed to fail. Maybe because he has been living under the watchful eye of the party so long that he knows nobody can escape the party. So anyway, they continue, and one day they receive a note from O'Brien to come to his apartment. So this is a luxurious apartment because the higher ranking members in the party gets all the luxury they want. So O'Brien tells them, both Julia and Winston, that he hates the party too, and he gives the manifesto, Emmanuel Goldstein's book, a class-based manifesto, and talks about it openly. And in a way, O'Brien understands where Julia and Winston Smith stands. Suddenly the soldiers barge in and arrests Winston and Julia. So O'Brien was just pretending to be part of the Brotherhood. He was a spy of the party all along. They are separated and taken to Ministry of Love. Really? Okay, so that's where the irony comes. Remember, Ministry of Truth, and they rewrite history. So it's look at how words can mean something else totally different. Even when people in power gives us the words, don't just digest it just like that, because words can be just as meaningless as these. So Winston is tortured by O'Brien, and as more days passes, Winston finds it really difficult to resist, and he is sent to room 101, the final destination, like the movie. It's where every dreadful nightmare comes real. So Winston is scared of rats. So, well, guess what awaits in this room for Winston? Rats. Winston snaps and he tells, "Do it to Julia, not me." So, love. Giving up Julia was what O'Brien wanted Winston to do all along, because maybe they do realize that individualized love for someone else other than the party can be a strong poison against their power. So that was the one thing that they wanted to change, and they were successful. Now outside, Winston sees Julia, but he no longer feels anything for her because he has finally learned to love the big brother. Now the novel ends in a dark tone, in a not so positive way, because the life goes on just like that. What does it tell us? That we have no hope once the government starts doing things like that? Well, think about it. If you have any answers, comment below. For me, it's important to question and try to understand what's out there for yourself. Just because a news channel leaks something or shows you something, or people in power tells you this is what it is, don't just digest it just like that. Try to think of your own. Maybe use, is it true? And if so, what are the evidences? If it's not true, what are the evidences? Well, truth has many faces. There is no ultimate truth in this world. So be open to many truths. That's all. I hope you like this video. And if you did, please like, share and subscribe.